All right, so I've been asked to speak now. My name is Wilda White, and I am the executive director of an organization called Vermont Psychiatric Survivors. Yay, Vermont! We've been around for about 30 years. Our mission is to end psychiatric coercion, oppression, and discrimination. And I've been executive director there for the last 3 years, trying to get our organization more focused on its advocacy roots. And you know, I think the only thing I have to be grateful for from the psychiatric mental health system is that it did qualify me for my current job, because one of the qualifications was lived experience with the mental health system and the resulting marginalization. And so when I guess about 4 or 5 years ago, I went to a psychiatrist because I was having problems concentrating and focusing. And he diagnosed me with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD. At the time I came to him, I was a lawyer for probably 30 years, graduated from Berkeley Law School, licensed to practice law in 3 states, graduate of Harvard Business School, top 10% of my class. And for some reason, he thought that I must have had a lifetime history of, failing to concentrate with that resume. But anyway, he diagnosed me with this. The medication he prescribed triggered a psychotic manic episode, which he then failed to diagnose for over a year. And as a result, I lost my job. I was teaching at Berkeley at the law school. I lost my rent control apartment in San Francisco. And for those of you who know about rent control in San Francisco, you know that is that's a huge loss. And of course I spent all my money, lost my pension, and was homeless for a few years. And then I saw this job at Vermont, and it said that, experience with the mental health system was a qualification. And so I thought I would give myself a test to see if I could craft a cover letter that would make this resume of mine compelling enough to get a job. Not expecting that I would actually take the job. But I ended up taking the job, and it's been actually the best thing that's ever happened to me, because I think that psychotic manic episode really transformed my life and made me a much more authentic person, and made me a much more human. And so as much as it destroyed my life, it also gave me new life. But that doesn't mean I want my psychiatrist to be off the hook. And so I was actually told by several other psychiatrists that my psychiatrist committed medical malpractice and that I should pursue litigation against him. And so I went out to try to find a lawyer and found out that I couldn't find a lawyer because lawyers don't represent people with psychiatric diagnoses. There is an exception though. The exception is if we kill ourselves. They will represent the family members of us. Well, I found that just unacceptable. It's unacceptable. And I actually found a videotape online of a New York attorney giving a continuing legal education seminar to other attorneys who said, if you have a client who has a previous psychiatric history, let me give you one tip. Run. Do not take their case. Even though they might have great cases, don't take their case. This will save you heartache. Well, I decided to become a lawyer when I was 8 years old. And at the time, I thought I was doing it to fight racial justice. I mean, Thurgood Marshall and Perry Mason were my inspiration. But now I'm 60 years old, and I'm taking that same passion that I had as an 8-year-old to fight this injustice against our community, and I am taking my own case to trial. I mean, cases like these are seldom won, and I filed this case in 2014, and I am still alive. They have not managed to kick my case out of trial, and in fact, they've offered a settlement. Wow. Now, they want me to sign a non-disclosure agreement. No. And that's what I think I can do. I think I can take this case to trial and get a big verdict against the psychiatrist, and that is what they listen to. Before I did this work, I was a trial lawyer, and I did get big verdicts against people, and it does change things. And so what I'm trying to do, my case goes to trial on June 25th in San Francisco. If any of you are out in the Bay Area, I could appreciate you coming to trial. In the meantime, I'm trying to raise a final round round of funding. I've already spent about $50,000 getting my case to trial. I'm trying to raise more. I have a GoFundMe campaign. I'll circulate information about it. But this is something we can do. I mean, the problems are really, really big and hard and complex and multifaceted, but this is something we can do. We can take a psychiatrist to jail, to trial. I wish we could put him in jail. In a very clear-cut case, right? I mean, diagnosing somebody who's licensed to practice law in 3 states, who was an editor at a newspaper working on deadline, who graduated the top of the class at Harvard Business School, at age 50-something, diagnosing that person with ADHD is ridiculous. And then for a year, not realizing that she was psychotic and manic, even as I was telling him I'm psychotic and manic, as my friends and family are saying, there's something wrong with her, she's psychotic and manic. As I'm getting fired for being crazy, he's still saying you're fine. Now, what's really interesting is when I was psychotic and manic, you know, we're supposed to be violent, right? But what I wanted to do was end racism. So I was starting this business to end racism. And he was all for it. And he told me to go do, you know, crowdfunding, you know, a GoFundMe campaign. And I think it would be so brilliant to turn that on him, so that my GoFundMe campaign is raising money to end him! To end him! So that's what I'm doing, and I hope, you know, that I prevail in this lawsuit, because what I want to do after that is take those cases that are not now being taken. I want to commit my life to fighting psychiatry and the harm that they cause through the courts, through that law degree that I thought I was getting to fight racial justice, but to fight that intersectional oppression. And that's what I want to do, and that's what I need your help. I mean, the race thing is really, you know, we do need to talk more about race and psychiatry, because I know at one point when my doctor found that I was going to sue him, he slipped into my medical record a diagnosis of a personality disorder. He said I had a narcissistic and schizophrenic personality disorder, and the proof of that he put in there because I had reported to him that a police officer had stopped me on the street wanting to see my driver's license, and I refused, and I was concerned that this police officer was going to harm me. And he actually wrote in that medical record that I was paranoid because I feared that a police officer might harm me. He actually wrote that. He actually wrote in my medical record that I was paranoid because I believed that I was a victim of racism. And so, I mean, it's the treatment that we get because of our race is a part of our movement, and we really do need to elevate those voices. I mean, if you read my medical records, you'll see people writing that I'm a wannabe Whoopi Goldberg. No, they put that in my medical record, right? And so race, we cannot ignore it. But there's also something we can do, and it's also something that I want to do, and I do need your help. So let's go after psychiatry, and let's try to do it through the courts.